Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cafefe with Carlito. This is Chloe. You may remember, Chloe, can you move? Because I want to just be, all I got to do is just kind of look at the camera. That's it. Here, you know what? Hang on. Chloe just got a haircut, so she's a little chilly. So she's a golden doodle, which is, I know, like the least manly. Can you? Oh, she's a good girl. Which I know is like the least manly dog breed to have, but I really don't care. She's fantastic with the kids. She's smart as a whip, and really just been a pleasure. I could tell you this much. If I could clone this dog and have another one, I absolutely would. And that, you know, I can't say that for every dog that I've ever had, because before this, I had a dog named Henry. He was an English bulldog, and he was just like, it was like a gun you could pet, basically. I really couldn't allow him to be around people who he didn't know. He was a rescue, so he had a lot of issues already, and it was a lot of stress just being really cautious, because dog bites are a real thing. Now, you know, this one here, she'll bark, but she's just about as vicious as a goldfish. She really is. So, you know, as you can see, she just kind of lays down. She's a great dog. Always on the lookout and letting us know that there are people or potentially a leaf in the yard, or birds or a squirrel or whatever it is. But she's a great dog. So anyway, she's going to be joining us here for as long as she'll allow me to have her. Now, she will usually lay with me. I mean, she'll come up with me and lay with me the entire night. Sometimes it gets to be like, okay, all right, like I need a moment to myself here, settle down. But let's just see. Let's see how long she is. These episodes usually last anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes, something like that. So let's see how long she'll hang out. Now, I have her covered up in a Mackinaw wool blanket from Filson. So, you know, she's very discerning, this one. She's very picky about the blankets that she will wear. Okay, you good? You gonna settle in? Good girl. All right, so actually a lot of stuff came out today, but you know, I forgot what they call it. There's a name for this, and I think it's just banter, but usually banter is between two people, but I'm bizarre enough, I guess, that I could sit here and banter with myself. So before we get into the new releases, of which there are some really cool ones, I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about last episode, and the overwhelming response and how grateful I am. Again, I'm sorry. If you're tired of hearing this, well, too bad. But, you know, in the last episode, I talked about the response to my Thursday collaboration and, you know, how it was 95% positive, but it's that 5% that can sometimes get under your skin. And it's not the criticism of the product, because, you know, like, look, this is all subjective, right? Some people like different colors, some people like different styles, and that's totally fine. And I think that understanding that the difference between subjective and objective is important. But, you know, just because it's not your style doesn't mean that it's not for somebody else. But it's funny how many people just simply can't grasp that. And I go into these things thinking that people come in with a baseline level of understanding that sometimes they don't have. So what I mean by that is somebody will say, you know, that particular thing looks all wrong, it's incredibly ugly, whatever. And yeah, okay, I mean, maybe it should be granted that this is just your opinion, but you think that these people would be wise enough to realize that that is just their opinion, and it's one that maybe nobody else is asking for. So again, I've always found that, you know, if I think that something is, you know, ugly or not my style or whatever, I just won't say anything about it, or I just won't buy it, you know? Imagine if you were to go through a mall, right, an old school mall, and tell everybody what you thought about their products. If you didn't like them, you just told them you didn't like them. They'd be like, all right, well, move on then. Why are you wasting your time here? So anyway, it's not those that bother me, it's the personal attacks. And oftentimes, like in YouTube and stuff like that, I have a lot of words that are censored, and most of them have to do with personal information, certain slurs, stuff like that. Basically things that I don't want other people reading, you know, like I don't want other people to be, you know, to listen to the word vomit of some, you know, dude who like loves the Joker and wants to like just see the world burn kind of thing in his own way. And so I try to just basically put up a shield there, and then those get sent into comment purgatory. But again, sometimes that catches some stuff that doesn't belong there, either because it's been misspelled or whatever. So you have to kind of look at those. And I know a lot of YouTubers who they do one of two things, depending on how big they are. First is they will have somebody who literally their job is to go through, reply to comments, filter out that hidden comment area, and basically take care of that all for them. Beyond that, when you get to be a big enough, whatever, you simply don't look at your comments at all. Now, that to me seems a little silly because I have found that I've really, again, I don't know many of you by name because we all use these pseudonyms and, profile names or whatever you call them, or usernames here on YouTube and stuff. And so I don't really know your name, but I recognize the same people over and over again. And they are people who I genuinely appreciate their insight, their knowledge, and if they have criticism, then I will take that criticism seriously because I know that it's coming from, number one, a well-informed place, but number two, a place that, that is actually looking to be constructive. This is something that is definitely one of those adult things that I learned the hard way, which is not everybody has your best interest at heart. I guess it's the naive, youngster in me that believed once upon a time that, everybody is out there to sort of help everybody else out. And if they're offering you advice, it's probably good advice. And, even as I'm saying it now, it just sounds so silly. But there are people close to you. I'm talking family members, friends, likely, coworkers for sure, who will feed you bad information to either just get one up on you, or because maybe they're after that promotion, or because they themselves have shortcomings that they just don't want to admit to, whatever it is. That's a tough thing. That's a hard thing to realize, that not everybody out there is looking out for you. And definitely that applies to the comments. Like I mentioned, there may be family members. There probably are friends that you've had. There certainly are coworkers. And definitely in the comment section, there are people who are operating out of jealousy. They're operating out of just some bad way, right? And they're just trying to nick that armor. And I'm going to tell you this much. For as many nicks that have happened to that armor of mine with this last drop, they have been repaired, and then there's another layer over that because of the overwhelming response from you guys. It's humbling. And there's only one or two times that I can look at besides this that I've sort of come to you with a little bit down, right? With my hat in my hand saying, I'm feeling a little, it's kind of getting to me. And both of those times, or whatever it has been, the response has been amazing. Now, that's not something you could do every time, right? I mean, there are people who just, they look for sympathy all the time. I am not one of those people. But I try to be real with you and tell you the things that are bothering me. And when it comes to something like that, holy moly, the outpouring of support. I mean, geez, I couldn't have asked for anything more. So what do they say? Faith in humanity restored. Well, I was very impressed. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. Again, I think it's just, we live in this weird world that we've never lived in before. Even in my time, like I was born in 81. So, cassette tapes were the thing, magazines. And then sometime in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, I got my first computer. It was a Gateway, came with a big box, remember, with the cow print on it. And I remember we opted for the upgrade to the 17-inch monitor because it came stock with a 15. And we got the 17, and it was like, whoa, whoa. And my friends were all coming over looking at it. Whoa, look at this thing, and you could go on the AOL chat rooms, which was a whole thing. And I remember being blown away that I could sit in this little computer room and I could talk to people who would, remember, people would put up A/S/L, which meant age, sex, location. And people were just wondering who you were and what you did. And so you'd see people and they would just be all over the place in different interests. It was such an amazing thing at that time. And again, having seen it all, I feel it's a great thing to be able to have seen things before and to see things now and how much they've changed, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. I think there's a tendency to look back and think that, everything that happened before is better, right? That's not the case. I mean, look at what we can do now. I can talk to you. I certainly have found, these virtual friendships at times where I needed somebody, like when I was living in Monticello, New York, doing a job up there, and there was nobody except for me and a couple of YouTube channels. And, there's ways that we can connect. We can do research on products before we buy them. Before that, it was literally you'd read a GQ or something like that. And it just so happened that the biggest advertisers in that issue happened to be in the top 10, right? And so it's like this kind of bullshit has been happening for a long time. It really has. So anyway, now it's definitely not it's not all bad. It's not all good. I certainly do miss the old days where you could just be truly disconnected. You can get that now. You can just turn your stuff off. You can go out to the woods, and that's sort of the same feeling. But anyway, I do remember reading something a long time ago, and it was about how people reacted to magazines the same way that they are reacting to social media now, in a lot of ways, right? That magazines were dumbing down the book industry, and they were these like short things for people with short attention spans. The article, if I could find it, I will link it. It was so creepy how much it had to do, and it sounded like it could have been written in these days about TikTok versus movies or long form content or whatever. It's amazing. We've been fighting the same battle in different ways for a long time, and who knows what came before that. One thing that I want to leave us on a good note here, because this is something I thought about the other day. I've met a lot of people in this last year, especially from different parts of the world. Gareth from South Africa, Eugenia from Argentina, people from all over the place. And I've even traveled a little bit this last year, so I've been able to talk to different people. A rancher in Montana, it's been really a lot of fun. The one thing I noticed, though, okay, Chloe's going to get up. The one thing that I noticed, though, is that by and large, when you talk to different people from different backgrounds in different locations, you find out that you actually have much more in common than not. And when we are in our little bubble, it's easy to think those people are like this and these people are like that. You're kind of creating these caricatures. I certainly do. Then when you actually get to meet them and talk to them, you realize, wow, we want the same things pretty much, and we have different ways of going about them, and we come from different places, but really, we are after the same things. People want to have some level of fulfillment. They want to be safe. They want their families to be happy. They want to pursue interests and see beauty. It's like the true, real evil that we think exists in one group or one location or whatever. It's not. They're just people. And it's just incredible to see. If you haven't felt it recently, I would suggest you maybe try to find somebody who's totally from a different area, totally different place in the country or the world, and realize how similar you are. It's cool and it's difficult, I know, because of the language barrier. But I remember meeting a guy, his name's Samwell, came from Kenya, and he didn't have shoes until he was like 13 or something. I mean, this guy was like, he's from Kenya, like you would think in your mind, or at least I did. He's here now. He's a doctor, and talking to him was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And same thing. At the core, even though he grew up in a completely different world than I did, we were largely the same. And it's a friendship that I have to this day. It's really just a great thing. And I think so many times, if you take the opportunity to let that guard down, you'll be rewarded tenfold. You really will, because if you just are more curious than anything else, then that tends to really go a long way. I've said this before, but it certainly is one of the things that I hang my hat on. It's 2 hat references in this episode, so I apologize. 2 things that I certainly would repeat over and over again, and something that I could freaking etch onto my tombstone, I'm telling you, is something I was told a long time ago by a therapist, is to be curious rather than scared or angry at something. Because for a long time, I was that guy, maybe that part is part of why sometimes these comments bug me, or they don't, and I can shrug them off, is I remember being that guy. I remember being that guy who was angry at the world and, kind of wanted to just lash out at anybody who might have been a good target. And, man, when she told me that was like, I don't remember a whole lot from that period, but I do remember that. And if you've never heard the story, I was going after somebody like with the intent to like absolutely beat the hell out of them. When a cop friend of mine got the call because this guy had called the police and said that he was, scared and being threatened and I was coming after him. And I was towing cars at the time. And this cop friend of mine who I got to know from different stops that we had done for the police department called me on my personal cell phone and said, hey, come to the mall, behind the mall right now. Right now. I don't care what you're doing. Come here right now. And so I did. And he gave me a talk that I'll never forget. And it wasn't finger wagging or get in the back or any of that stuff. It was, look, you got to get this under control. People like this are going to come into your life no matter what, and they're going to burn themselves out. Because people like this, they always do. And so don't let somebody like that take you down too. Somebody with nothing to lose, you're going to really stake everything that you have on that. And at this time I was like 20. You know what I mean? What did I have? But it's so true. And I think about that even today when I lose my temper or something happens in social settings and, your first instinct, right, is to confront that person and possibly get in their face and get violent if necessary. It's why? Is that particular thing because they cut in front of you because of whatever it is that really worth, escalating it to that point and potentially losing everything that you've worked for your entire life? Absolutely not. So I remember being that angry guy. And when she told me, instead of being angry and instead of being that way, be curious, it was a absolute eye opener. So I hope that maybe reaches some people out there. And when possible, I try to impart that knowledge to people who maybe where I was at that time. A lot of great stuff has come out this week, and I'm glad for that because it was pretty bleak for a while. That's to be expected, right? There are these ebbs and flows that come and go, where companies release product because they're going to sell it, and then times where, they're just, especially around the holidays, they're pushing sales. That's their big thing. Indigo Farah is one of my favorite shirt brands. Now, they're not a shirt brand, so maybe I should just say denim brand because that's kind of what they do. They're similar to an Ironheart or any of these other companies where they actually have a whole lot of different products. And they get, at least it seems to me, they get looked over a lot. And Indigo Farah is awesome, especially if you're somebody who doesn't fit the Japanese style or cut, right? The very slim cut. I certainly don't. And I found that Indigo Farah is a great option. Now, you have to be really careful with Indigo Farah because their sizing is crazy, all right? If you thought that heat strap sizing was crazy, Indigo Farah is made for gigantic, I think they're from Sweden. Are they from Sweden? I can't remember. They're made for like gigantic Vikings. I fit in a medium, and I'm a large XL all day long with most other brands. In Ironheart, I'm a double XL. I've never been a double XL in anything, So one of my favorites is their Copeland shirt. I actually have two of these in two different colors, and every time I wear them, somebody makes a comment. That's a nice shirt. Where'd you get that? I've never seen one like that. Now, because of that, you can't wear it all the time because people will be like, I saw that shirt last week. But this is a little bit different. This one's in black. And what I like about it is, first of all, you can't really see those buttons. I'm going to try to, or the snaps rather. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on them or find a detailed shot to put up on the screen here. They are these very intricate looking buttons with their logo on them. The stitching is multi-tonal. So there's like a gold and what looks like maybe a silver in this, which is on black. It costs $340. I know, a lot of money for a shirt, but I will say that the level of detail on this, it meets or exceeds anything that you've probably seen. It's just a little bit different. I love the hem on this. It's a flat hem, so it's not meant to be tucked in because usually these are pretty thick. And it wears very nicely as an untucked shirt with that flat hem and all the details and stuff like that. It's rigid. It's a great feeling, substantial shirt. Like I said, I have two of these. I don't have one in black, but looking at this one, I could be convinced. And this is one that I always have kind of saved. If the Copeland shirt comes up in a new colorway or a new fabric or whatever, I usually will look at it and pick one up. Look at the stitching detail on the pocket. So cool, so cool. This is one of those shirts that I recommend to especially people who don't fit into really, really slim stuff, or if you just don't like to tuck your shirt in, or if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, Indigo Farah is the way to go. I love their Copeland shirt, and this cotton kersey black looks dynamite. All right, Filson came out with a new coat, I guess I should say, this week, which is their lined Mackinac wool cape coat. It's $750, and it reminds me a lot of the double Mackinac Cruiser. Now, it's not a double Mac because it's a different style. This cape coat, though, also has a double layer of their Mackinac wool over the shoulders, and I was a little bit crestfallen when I saw this. I saw the lining and I thought, oh, it's lined in shearling or it's lined in mouton. It's not. This is a synthetic blend, I believe. Let's see if we can read some of the details here. So the wool is 26 ounce, 100% virgin Mackinac wool. The lining is 60% acrylic, 40% fleece and polyester, twill, and insulation. So what you're getting here is essentially plastic on the inside. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily as a bad thing. You just need to know what you're getting. To me, I really do try to wear as much natural material as possible. Sometimes you just can't get the traits that you want out of natural materials. Certainly, if this was, going to be lined in mouton or lined in real shearling or whatever, knowing Filson, it would be well over $1,000. And this one is made in the USA. So to me, this is a good sign. That's why I wanted to talk about it. This is a good looking, probably very warm coat, which I wish was about $250 cheaper, but I like it. I got to tell you, I dig it. I wish that lining was a shearling or something like that, as I've mentioned, but that's a lot of money. I mean, that's the amount of money that you're within spitting distance of something from Weather Wool, something from Heat Straps, something from any number of different companies. And I could put up some recommendations if you want here. None of them make anything that's quite like this. So if you look at it and you go, that's my bag right there. That's what I got to get. Okay, well then go ahead and pick it up. I'll bet you're going to be very happy with it. I am glad to see, though, that Filson made this in the USA with they always get their colors right. I will say that. I wish there was a little bit more natural material, but it's a step in the right direction is what I'm saying. What do you think, Chloe? Do you like that? Companion denim. I saw these and immediately I was like, okay, I gotta include those this week. They have a great old man style, but I really actually like the way that this dude styled them in the picture here. So he's wearing them with, a service boot of type. I mean, it almost kind of looks like, what is that, a Beckman or something like that. But he's not rocking this with dress shoes or, God forbid, loafers. But they look to me like, like tweed old man pants. But they look great. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean, they take the best elements of that and cross it with workwear, and they made some pretty cool things. So this is called, what is it? They're called the Japanese tweed fatigues. And they make a note here that the waist is a little bit smaller on these, so make sure that you size appropriately. Especially for something like this, they're probably not going to stretch very much. It says here, the fabric used for this model is premium Japanese tweed, featuring a stunning multicolored texture, full of depth and character. It blends the rich heritage of English tradition with the meticulous craftsmanship of Japanese artisans. All right. Thanks to its brushed finish, the fabric boasts an incredibly soft and pleasant texture, making these pants exceptionally comfortable and enjoyable to wear. Now, they look great, but there are a few things that, if it was up to me, I would change, or maybe modify, I should say. First of all, I love the fabric. I think it looks really cool. These could be dressed up or down within reason, because if you look at those back pockets, they have flaps, and that means that immediately people are going to think workwear. The back pockets with buttons, it's a look. There's no doubt about it. Functionality-wise, though, it's kind of a miss, because if you're going to be sitting in these, which you inevitably will be sitting during the day, those are going to get in the way. They also really don't work very well when you have to use your back pocket. If you keep your wallet back there or whatever else, if you have to undo a button, have you tried doing a button like that with one hand behind your back? It's not easy. They do look cool, and I love those the buttons they use here with that. They have a hole pattern that makes them look like an anchor. So cool. I also wish that these were, if they decide to include them, a little bit higher placed. They're kind of low on the pant, and they almost look like they're just. It just looks a little bit out of place. So if it were up to me, If you absolutely needed to keep that button there, I certainly would have, but I would have done away with the flap. I know, again, they're going after, nobody asked this, right? And they're going after the fatigues look. So I get it. But if it were me and I were to create my perfect pant, I would remove that top flap, keep the button because it's cool looking, and move them up a little bit. Now, the other thing is, now these have side adjusters. I'm glad to see that. Side adjusters on my dress pants and stuff are huge. They're great. And so you have those in addition to belt loops, so you can use both if you'd like. It's a little bit of a, suspenders and belt kind of thing, but it's okay. And the other thing that I would have done with these is I would have given them a liner in the top section. I have a couple of pairs of tweed pants, and they all have sort of a slippery liner at the top, because this kind of rough and textured fabric can get kind of itchy. And I know it's not wool, so it's cotton. It should be a little softer, and maybe with time it'll sort of break in. But also it just helps with sliding that thing on, over your pant and being able to tuck a shirt into it, whatever. Very textured fabric has its place, and it's not really around your nether regions, in my opinion. So I would have done that same type of liner in these if anybody had asked, which they didn't. So to be fair, nobody asked. The price on these is 345 euros, which is $353 US. Thursday Boots have been coming out with a lot of new products lately, and I really started paying attention when, I think it was called their Thunder Boot, whatever that sort of logger type boot was. And I'm glad to see that they are coming out with a lot more new products, because I think they are clearly making strides to have a much bigger catalog. Now, their jackets, which started off as something that I was not impressed with. If you ever want to see that video, it's still out there somewhere. It's a long, long time ago. But their first attempt at a jacket was not good. And to their credit, though, they've course corrected and they did it. You done? All right, she's gone. She's done. So they've course corrected. They've done a better job. And their new jackets, which I think are in their third, fourth, whatever generation, are actually much better. They came out with a new style this week called the Major League Jacket. And now I'm going to tell you this much. It's not my style. I would never wear anything like this. It's more of old school leather jacket style, which I remember from way back when. And I'll tell you what the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, do you remember the leather jacket? It was a suede jacket, actually. The suede jacket that Butch wore in Pulp Fiction. It was like a tan suede and had rib knit cuffs, and I remember that jacket. I don't know why it sticks out in my mind. They don't have it in that color, but it reminds me a lot of that jacket. That's definitely a look, and this is much more full cut than most leather jackets, but I think that we're entering an era where they're getting away from skinny jeans and these really, really skinny fits. Thank God, because it was terrible. And they're getting back to more full cuts. Now, you watch, that's going to go way far the other way too. Like the 90s, where you see the shoulder seams down here on somebody's bicep. It's going to go way too baggy again. We've seen this happen. Everything goes in cycles. So they've gone from the skinny stuff to the really baggy stuff, and then they went back to the skinny stuff, and then now they're on their way back. And man, if Jenkos come back like they were in my high school, I swear to God. Anyway, the Major League jacket is $360, which, again, the big thing for Thursday is at the price. You're able to get something that's pretty damn decent at a really good price. $360 is, in the world of leather jackets, oh, thank you for the kisses, is really, really good. Now, as I mentioned, this is a style that I probably wouldn't wear, but if I did, I would get this blue textured one. Go full on retirement home color in this. I actually really like that color. I think it could look really good, and I would like to see it in person, because here's the problem with any kind of natural material. It's always going to change, and especially leather. Leather, depending on the cut, the delivery, it could be named the exact same thing, and the tannage is the same and everything like that, but just because of natural variations, it changes. But this one that I see here, I actually kind of like. Again, I don't think I would ever wear it, because it's nothing that I need, and I have plenty of stuff that fits that, but I kind of like this blue one. It's unexpected, it's different, and in a sea of browns and blacks and different colors of muted stuff, to have something that's really different like this is actually pretty cool. So of the group here, and I think there are 4 different colors, this blue textured is, I think pretty cool. So again, I'm probably not going to get it, but want to let you know that that's out there, because I'll bet you somebody else is looking at this going, that's exactly what I was looking for. Chloe's going to tell you a little bit about this one because she decided to stand right in the way. So Baker's Boots has a handful of pairs of bristle black Shinky engineer boots coming to their store. I got to tell you this much, as far as Baker's goes and everything like that, I would trust them over almost any other boot shop. Certainly any other boot shop that I've actually shopped at. My first experience with Baker's, can you sit down, please? Was that I gotta get a co-host chair for you. My first experience with Baker's, I ordered my White's Bounty Hunters from them, and you can only get them through Baker's because they have that's like a collaborative model with them. I ordered them, and when they came in, I had ordered them accidentally with a soft toe, and I got them, and I had never seen a soft toe before, and it kind of like collapsed. It looked like it was shrunken or like a mistake. And I called them up and I said, is this supposed to be like that? And she goes, yeah, you ordered an unstructured toe. And I was like, oh, okay. She goes, but you know what? If you're not happy with them, they were expensive boots. I paid $600 something at the time. She goes, we'll do what we have to do to make you happy. And I was like, no, it's okay. If I ordered them like this, obviously it's an option for some people. I'll just wear them. It's fine, but thank you. And they were really cool. I also snapped a lace like the second time I wore them. They sent out laces without question, like right away. So right then I was like, this is a company that's always going to have my business, because their customer service and everything like that is really, really great. So Baker's, and plus you get a 10% coupon if you're a new customer. Seriously, 10% off of $500-$600 boots is no small amount. That could cover the tax or whatever. So anyway, I would definitely shop at Baker's again. So they have 18 pair of these bristle black engineers coming, and I did a review on the bristle blacks. I really like them a lot. They, are they as good as my Mr. Lou's? I'd say that they're more refined. If you want a sleeker boot, then that's cool. I like my Mr. Lou's because they're a little bit more, really? I mean, you're right in the way. You're right in the way. All right, so I got to be real with you. My memory card ran out, and I did the whole end of this video, and obviously it went on a little too long. So bad, that's my problem. Anyway, we're going to get to the patrons only section right now. I was just talking about the bristle black boots being over at Baker's. So great deal if you want a sleeker boot. Pretty decent price too, $850, which is, I know, a lot, but for a good engineer, you'd know that's probably in the range of it's still a decent value, especially for some Shinky, which is really cool. Anyway, go check those out. We're going to go to the patrons section right now. For the rest of you, thank you so much for watching. Really, I can't express it enough. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.